Hi everybody, I'm Wessel and this is my guide to building the ultimate stereo system, episode 1, the concept. Now I've been involved with music and sound for a very long time and I've always wanted to build my own system from the ground up. When I mean build my own system, I literally mean design on electronic component level all the way up to a final system. So in this series I'm going to do exactly that and show you how I'm doing it all along the way. So let's get started. So in its simplest form, the sound system would just be an amplifier and a speaker. The problem with this is that a speaker that will play the entire audio range would have to weigh nothing, be infinitely stiff and a reasonable size. Now those are three conflicting properties and therefore you cannot build a speaker that will play the entire audio range. So you need to have different size speakers. You can have small, stiff speakers called tweeters and then big, hard, heavy speakers called woofers. So if you had an amplifier, a tweeter and a mid-range and you simply connect them together like that, you'd have a peak in the frequency where the two combine. That the mid-range would have a frequency something like that, the tweeter would have a frequency response something like that, and then combined we'll have a peak over there. So for this reason we need to use crossovers. The traditional way to use a crossover would have been to add a filter on the output side of your amplifier. So a traditional crossover would be a capacitor on the tweeter and inductor on your woofer. Now I'm sure you've heard that lots of people are talking about using special cables on speakers to reduce the impedance. So what we're saying is if you've got a filter between your amplifier and your speaker, you've got extra impedance, which is not ideal. It's better to have your speaker directly connected to your amplifier. Now for this reason, I'm designing my system with an active crossover in front of the amplifier. That enables me to connect my speakers directly to the amplifier and have as low as possible output impedance. So let's talk about crossover frequencies. There's one important thing to remember, and that's that 300 Hz to 3 kHz is the most important part of what we hear. So you definitely don't want to go and put your crossover frequency between 300 Hz and 3 kHz. Now, I don't know of any speakers that can play 20 or 30 or 40 Hz all the way up to 3 kHz, or a speaker that can play 300 Hz all the way up to 20 kHz. I don't think anything like that exists. And for this reason, if you're going to build the ultimate hi-fi system, it's got to be a three-way system. On an active crossover system, you'll have individual amplifiers, each driving its own speaker. So in this case we've got tweeter, mid and subwoofer, and then in front of the amplifiers you'll have a crossover that filters the frequencies and sends them to each individual amplifier. So for this system that I'm building, we're going to have a tweeter, a mid, a sub, and just for extra measure, an extra sub. The reason for the extra subwoofer is that every speaker's got a point where the lower frequency will start rolling off. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to eventually build a processing system that will boost my low bass for that roll off. And for that I need the extra power of the extra subwoofer. Another advantage of active crossovers is that you can reduce the output voltage of the amplifiers. And to see that, we can combine two waveforms. We've got a sine wave, say at 100 Hz, and superimpose on top of that we've got another sine wave at 1 kHz. So you can see that the peak-to-peak output voltage is now much higher because the two signals are combined together. On an active crossover system you won't have that problem because you'll have two individual signals. One signal your 100 Hz and another signal your 1 kilohertz. And you can see from this that your peak to peak voltage has been reduced dramatically. Because your power is equal to V squared over R, if you reduce your voltage, your power is reduced as well. For this project, we're going to have a tweeter, a mid-range and 2 subwoofers, which means we'll eventually have to have 4 amplifiers per speaker. One driving the tweeter, one driving the mid-range, and 2 amplifiers for the subwoofers. We'll have the active crossover in front of these, splitting it into a high pass, a band pass, and 2 low pass signals. To save cost, I'm going to build one power supply that feeds all of the amplifiers. Alright, thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you want to follow this project. I'll see you next time. Thanks.